All right. Really good bye week. All right. Me and my wife had a chance to get out of town. We went to Arizona. I had a chance to play the TPC. I did the one that happens during the Super Bowl, and I love golf. It was a horrible experience, but you know what? It was horrible. It was horrible, but I had a really good time. All right, so my mind got away from football for 4 hours in that, because I think I said the same amount of words I say in the game, playing golf. But man, it was outstanding to spend some time with my wife. So you guys go ahead and shoot.
You did get a chance to get away, obviously. Did you have a score on 16 at all at the stadium home? That you want to give out?
When you like to know. It wasn't a good score, I would just tell you that.
It's a little different when the stadium's not around and all that
And
stuff.
no one's around, I'm glad.
Yeah, it's a fun course. Dan, it did talk about doing the self-evaluation and the self-scout, though. I'm sure you had some time to do that as well.
Oh, yeah.
Outside of getting away. Maybe just some big takeaway points from that self-evaluation?
I would say this first and foremost, that our guys have really done a good job of understanding exactly what we're trying to create as a defense. To come out this first part of the season where we're at in third down, explosive plays, run defense, and I would even say pass defense for how we stop the run has been really good, and I'm impressed with the way our guys are understanding that. The things that we got to do a better job at, we got to do a better job in the red zone, and we as coaches and the players understand that's a joint effort, between all of us. So, and that's something that we've talked about quite a bit, coming back from the bye, of getting better at that, and continue to try to get these takeaways. And now we're not going to force them, and we're not going to go out of our way to try to get them, because we do know they come in bunches. All right, it happened last year to us. We're expecting the same things this year. So those are the two things that really came out of that: is red zone and to continue to create takeaways.
That if you do in red zone, it helps, you solve some of the issues that you have?
You know what? Not really. I would go execution on both ends, as coaches and as players. I have to make sure I put these guys in good positions, and they have to go out there and execute. So, and that's how I'm always going to look at it. No matter what happens, the first person I look at is myself when things are not happening the right way. And then I talk to the players about that, and then the players look at themselves as far as execute.
You've seen two former MVP quarterbacks this year in Mahomes and Jackson. Herbert's kind of in that next group, that up-and-coming group. What does he do really well that presents a challenge for you guys this weekend?
He's a big, physical, athletic quarterback with a huge arm that will sit in the pocket, and, he will take a hit and still deliver the ball, and deliver it with accuracy. And usually when you have guys like that, they're going to have good careers. So, we have to do a good job of getting to him. And when we get to him, we got to get him down. You see a lot of times he's breaking a lot of tackles back there when guys have him corralled. So, and then, we got to stop this Keenan Allen. Obviously he's looking for him. Just look at the number of catches that he has and everybody else has. It's pretty out of whack. But if I had him, I would throw it to him all the time too. So, but it's going to be a challenge for us. It's going to be a challenge. We understand that, and our guys will be ready for it. They'll be ready for it. We have a good day of practice today, the third down, and then we'll be ready for this Sunday.
You mentioned Herbert's toughness. Dan sort of hit on that yesterday too. What is it about that quality in another player that just garners so much respect? When you see a guy willing to take the hits.
To me, when you on the offensive side, especially your receivers, your linemen, when they see a quarterback that's going to stand in the pocket and take a hit, because offensively a lineman will say, man, that's my fault. I let my quarterback get hit. But he stood in there and he delivered the ball. You have the utmost respect because he's doing everything he can do to help the team win. And you see that all through the tape with this player. So, there's no question why this guy's going to be a good player in this league because of those things that he do.
We talk all the time about just good players in this league find a way, right?
Yeah.
With Allen, the ball's going to him. Everybody knows the ball's going to him. what does he do so well to be able to continue to produce at the level he does?
Very smart, understands coverage. His ability to come in and out of routes at a guy that big is special. And his change of speed. I mean, he has a pace, the way he plays, that he's in tune with the quarterback that you don't see a lot of people have. So he's not always running at full speed. But, man, once he hits his break, man, he's out of there, and he's creating the separation to get a quarterback. Just a really good era of vision for him to throw the ball. You know, you see that quite a bit. And you don't have a lot of players that can do that because the timing has to be on point. And him, the quarterback, has really good timing right now.
They already lost Mike Williams early on. They just lost Palmer. You already spoke about Allen. Is there anybody else that would call that secondary some defense?
Well, a guy who's coming back was a speed guy for them, so we have to be aware of him. Man, you look at this tight end, 89, I mean, in the red zone, I mean, he's playing basketball out there, so he's catching touchdowns like crazy. And I've always had respect for the tight end, number 7, man. He's a really, really good athlete. And his ability also to make plays. You watch him, like when guys are trying to tackle him, he's breaking a lot of tackles also. So they have weapons, and you can never forget about the running back. I mean, not only can he run it, but his ability to catch these screen passes and make explosive plays with screens and with check downs that you have to be aware of where he's at. So they have weapons, you know, regardless of who's out, they still have them.
It's a pretty young offensive line with 2 recent first-round picks on there. What have you seen kind of from that group and how they've grown as the season gone on?
They're trying to build it the right way. You see that, how you building it inside out. And when you go get guys like Zion, you get Slater, the first-round pick. Man, those guys are they're tough. They're athletic, really athletic. And, man, you just see those guys getting in tune with the quarterback. And that's one of the things that that you always have. It always takes time, is that O-line to work together for the most part. And I think those guys are doing a pretty good job.
You know, you're focused on the Chargers offense, but I'm just wondering your assessment of Coach Staley as a defensive mind.
I'm not looking at their defense, you know, so I don't know. You know, I got bigger fish to fry with this quarterback and these receivers and running backs they have.
What did you think of Roderick's debut? They got 11 plays in.
Yeah.
Just when you watch the tape, what you think?
You know, I thought it was good to get him out there and get him in live action. We're going to continue to work this player in. We said this from the beginning. It's going to be a work in progress with this player. But he has all the skills that we look for in a D lineman. It's just the fact of him coming from where he came from now into the NFL, that he has to continue to see these different plays that's coming at him, understand how he's going to play these blocks, and understand exactly what we're trying to do as far as the D-line to continue to improve. So happy where he's at, going to continue to work with this player, and there's going to be good things with this player as the season progresses.
Pad level was a big thing for him in the training camp. See that.
Hey, when you're 6'6", it's always going to be an issue. So,
but has he been better? Has he been more consistent?
It has. It really has. His understanding, because he's a smart player, his understanding of playing blocks, that's the thing that's different from this player. Because he didn't see him in college. And now he's seeing them from the different run schemes that you get. He's able to play those now. So, like I said, I'm happy where he's at. We look forward to continuing to work with this player. And again, he's going to be a player that's going to be a good player as the season progresses.
And this is a big picture, but you know, you guys are 6-2 in a pretty good spot right now. But
Yeah.
I think everyone realizes nothing's been accomplished yet. So to get to where you want to be at the end of the year, what do you need? What do you need from your defense over the last 9 games here?
Improvement. I've said this from the beginning, where we're in the business of improvement, from myself, the staff, and with the players. And when you take that next step as a team, all right, you look at things a lot different. There are things that are just unacceptable when it comes to practice. There are things that are unacceptable when it comes to meetings. There are things that are unacceptable when it comes to walkthrough. And the guys have to understand that. And because the stage is bigger, the expectations are bigger. And now you want to put yourself in that elite category. And that's what we're doing as a team and as an organization. You know, we're trying to be one of these organizations that, you know what, we year in and year out, we're going to be up there in the fight. And listen, that's what we want to be. And I've said this before. I want to be a part of one of these organizations that every year, when you go 9-8, there's a chance you can get fired because the expectations are so high. And I've been a part of that in New Orleans, right? And this is where we're going with this organization.
As in, you have to maintain that elite level
Absolutely.
all the time, no matter what.
Absolutely, that's what you want. I mean, you look at Pittsburgh, you look at Baltimore, you look at those organizations. I mean, they think like that, and we're on our way to thinking that way too.
Everyone have a good bye week? Yeah,
How about
good.
yours? You golf like AG, or what'd you do?
Didn't do much. Yeah, tried to be a husband and a father for first time in a few months, so it was good. Which meant I caught up on sleep. No, it was good. It was good to be with the family though. We stayed local, so open it on up.
What is your self scout reveal to you?
A lot of things. We're doing a lot of things really well as an offense, and I think we are getting better on a weekly basis. I think if you look at it just within cut-ups, you might be but if you look at it chronologically, you feel pretty good about our trajectory right now. The run game is certainly getting better each and every week. I think the guys are trusting the technique that we're asking them more and more. Our backs are seeing it a lot better. They're trusting their landmarks, and so we're seeing growth there in the run game. That hopefully will continue on here the second half of the season. Base downs were really good. Third down, we got some room for improvement, particularly call it 7+ area. We got some work to do there. And then I think we all know red zone hasn't been what it needs to be, particularly the last 3 games. Something that we brought to their attention. They're aware of it, and so certainly tonight we'll come up with a good plan, and tomorrow will be our red zone day, and we can tackle those issues.
Can you speak about Jameer Gibbs a little bit? I mean, just the confidence that he has coming off that big Monday Night Football game. Dan was saying he's probably going to continue to get a fair share no matter what happens with Montgomery. But talk about his going forward with him. What do you think that did for him, and how do you continue to try to get that? Obviously not 152 every game, but
Yeah, no, hopefully 152. It's my lifeline easier. But no, I mean, he's done an incredible job breaking tackles. Heck, that was the first game of the season against the Chiefs. He's an explosive player. It's exactly what we saw on tape in the player that we were looking to draft. And I don't know if it's adding to his confidence at all. He's come in. He's been a confident individual ever since he got into this building. But certainly for us, we feel good about continuing to push the different schemes at him. He's been effective inside the tackles. He's not just a perimeter player like I think the narrative might be out there for him in the run game. And then his route tree's still growing. So looking forward to getting him and Monty both their fair load of touches. They both have proven worthy of it. Just talking to the skill guys earlier this week, it's a good problem to have right now, having some mouths to feed. So it's not just that room, but receivers and tight ends as well.
To that point, just what kind of stress does it put on the defense when those two are on the field together? And how much can you guys use that as an advantage? Obviously not to give away scheme,
You'd have to
game
ask
plan.
them. You have to ask them, Tim. It's always a fun exercise to do, and certainly do it at the end of the season. The bye week's another good time to do it, but you look through your roster, the guys that are available to you. You might rank them. You say, hey, these are our top 11 guys that we really feel good about on offense. And usually you want to get those 11 guys out on the field together as much as possible. And I think both those guys are within those top 11 players that we have on offense. So yeah, there's a strong argument to get them both out there together more often.
Is there like a ride the hot hand element? Do you have to divvy it up to make sure they both stay involved? Like what's the, I don't know, how do you go about, again, without giving away the exact game plan?
To be determined.
Yeah.
No, Scotty's done a great job with both those guys. They know the entire game plan in and out. So some might be by series, some might be play specific, but both those guys can handle a lot.
Is this where we see the versatility that you guys talked about also with Jameer, that when they're in there together, there's so much he can do on the outside?
Oh yeah, for sure. And we've been growing that route tree from the springtime. So outside the numbers, in the slot from the backfield, he keeps learning, he keeps growing, and he's doing a good job with it.
You talk about trajectory. How tough is it to, I guess, assess it when given all the injuries you had those first 8 games?
Yeah, I probably don't even look at it within that lens of who we had out there. We talk about all the time, it's next man up, so it doesn't matter the injuries we've had on the O-line. Listen, I'm certainly excited to get possibly some reinforcements back this week, really at all the positions. So But no, when we look at it and we're evaluating the scheme and what we've done so far, it's less, hey, but it was because we had so-and-so. No, that's not it. We put those guys out there because we feel like they can execute what we call. And so whether we do or not, that's a different story.
What's the biggest thing that stands out with the Chargers defense?
Shoot, they're really good in the key areas, which to me is the run game. They're top 10, top 5 defense in the run game this year. To me, when you watch the film from last year to this year, it's a completely different run defense. Maybe not schematically, but those guys, they're doing a heck of a job bottling up the run. That's number one. Number two, they're a really good third down team. And then number 3, they're really good in the sack area too. And so those two really go hand in hand because they're able to generate pressure. And it's not so much maybe the different exotic blitzes that we've seen over the past few weeks. It's really, they've got some really good rushers. And so our O-line has a big challenge here this week, picking them up here in the run, in the protection game.
DPJ, you have a little extra time on the bye, I guess, to maybe go back and look at his film before you get your hands on him. All receivers offer kind of a different flavor to an offense. So what does he bring that maybe you didn't have or didn't have as much of it that he can contribute?
He, I remember when he was coming out of Michigan, I really liked his tape coming out of there. I actually thought he fell in the draft a little further than what a guy of his skill set might. I mean, you're talking about 6'2", 210, and can run under a 4.5. So those guys don't grow on trees. And I think so far what we've seen from him is exactly that. Really fluid route runner, strong hands, big catch radius. And I think he can work both outside and inside. And probably even better than that, at least from my perspective, is everyone talks about how smart he is. And so that's something that we really need in that room. We ask a lot out of our guys lining up in different areas and being very detailed. So I think he'll fit in really nicely.
Maybe not immediately, just given there's got to be an acclimation period, but just the way you describe that skill set sounds like something that might be helpful to you in the red zone.
Oh, no question. Yeah, red zone. He makes some plays down the field, in the open field as well. So looking forward to getting him out there.
Do you have a sense of why his production dropped off in Cleveland this year?
I can't speak to that, no. Yeah.
Just staying with the red zone stuff for a sec. I think you guys were like middle of the pack before that Raiders game, so I don't know how big of an issue it was, but you just chalk it up to, I mean, some of those things were, I don't know, just penalty here or like the St. Brown play. I mean, just missed opportunities, I guess, more than one overriding thing that's.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like last year we were solid in the red zone, and you talk to our analytics guys, the red zone offense is a variable that it changes year to year. It's very unconstant. It's not a stabilizing force. And so what we look to do is we have a philosophy that we adhered to last year, and we're attempting to adhere to again this year. And the guys are aware of it. We brought it up again. Hey, this is what we want to do when we get out down there. And like you said, we've been going backwards too much as opposed to going forward. We've had too many negative plays, particularly when we get from the 12-yard line on in. I think we've had like 50 plays, and 10 of them end up going backwards, which is that's really what's killing us at the end of the day. So we'll get that solved, and hopefully we'll find more success down there.
They say that variance is based on talent, execution. It's all around the league.
Listen, I can't speak to that, but they bring all these things by, and they had a bunch of them at the end of the year last year. They're like, hey, just because you guys were good in red zone or because you guys were good in screens, that's just something over time. 1 year could be dipped. You might stay the same, might dip down, but there's no carryover effect so much as maybe some of the other categories.
Small sample size, is that part of it?
I don't think so.
You're a math guy.
Yeah.
If you had any thoughts on it.
Yeah, that one I took it as a challenge. I was like, I was saying we can't be good again in the red zone. So maybe they're right so far, but we'll get it worked out, and we'll be in good shape. The guys understand, and just like any issue that we've had, you bring it to their attention, they dive into it, and normally we're pretty good about it. Turnovers is another area that we got to continue to improve. We had 3 of them last game, and so we got to clean that up as well.
And you mentioned Bosa and Mac sort of being, I think we all know their history. What makes them special pass rushers where they can just win those one-on-one matchups and stuff?
Yeah, they get singled up, isolated, and they just go to work. They've got an array of pass moves, pass rush moves, and really, yeah, you can talk about them in the pass rush game, but they're really good run defenders as well. Mac, I think, has really made a name for himself over the years as a run defender. They've got one more edge guy, a rookie, 45, that does a heck of a job for them also. So I do think that's a strength for them. Obviously, their edge guy, you know about the two other ones, but 45 is doing a good job. And then you combine that with some good athletic linebackers, it creates a handful.
Bye was great. Well, obviously, it can't be good. No, it was incredible. We went down to the University of Alabama, and college game day was there. They were playing LSU. I got to see that for the first time in my career. Pat McAfee was on there, letting it rip, which was pretty cool. And then just being with our daughter in that environment was incredible. She's doing great. And God, man, it's big football. Football's alive and well down south, that's for sure. Yeah, we were in the upper deck. It was great. End zone, the top of the thing, is Dixieland Delight starts playing. The whole place is rocking. It's an incredible experience. But yeah, tickets were cheap. They're saving a lot of money. We helped his salary. It was good.
I'm curious about emergency backups in your industry. Obviously, Scott got injured really late in that game, but he had said maybe Aiden Hutchinson would have been your emergency long snapper. We see the Houston game where they've got I forget what position was kicking, but how much do you work on that? Given there's no traditional backup on the roster, just emergency scenarios.
Yeah, obviously you have to have contingency plans in place. Unfortunately for me, I've been a part of a handful of situations where we've had to do that, both the snapper position, the kicker position. I don't think I've been in a situation where we had to have an emergency kicker kick a field goal, but we definitely had a guy kick off before. It's something that you got to practice and be prepared for. We do snap those guys, our backup guys. We have them snap, not necessarily with the team, but we have them snap at least once a week where they're taking snaps for us and preparing in case it comes up. Ultimately, hope it doesn't happen, but if it does, it can be big. Those guys at Houston did a great job executing. Fortunately for us, unfortunately, Scott got hurt. Obviously, fortunately for us, we didn't have to kick the ball or punt the ball at the end of the game, but we did have a plan in place.
Who is the best non-kicker on the team?
Non-kicker, well, our punter is the best non-kicker kicker. It's unbelievable how many punters can't kick the ball. And like my son said, well, why doesn't the punter kick? I'm like, well, punter can't kick a lot of times. And their punter, Cam Johnson, an Australian guy, and those guys didn't grow up kicking the ball, And sometimes it's crazy how bad the punter is at actually kicking a ball. So anyway, other than that, I don't know. I know that Fox would be our backup plan if something didn't happen or if something happened to our kicker. So
You've been so good, special teams wise, through 8 games. But Dan and Aaron both talked about the self scout that happens on the bye. I'm just curious, maybe one really positive thing that you love through the 8 games and one thing you'd like to see maybe get better through the next 9.
Yeah, so that's an interesting topic. Number one, I feel like we can improve everywhere all the time. So I would start with that. The whole self-scout thing to me is also kind of funny because it's like, well, you wait until a bye week to all of a sudden look at yourself. Like I always say every week, before we play, the most important team that we can worry about is our own team, And so really to start every meeting, if we're talking about our kickoff coverage, we're watching our self-cover and what are the things that we can do to improve. So I really feel like in today's world, you're self-scouting all the time, every week after every game. And with the resources that we have nowadays, whether it be computers and, with the touch of a button, you could pull up any of one of our punts that have been returned, punts that have been returned for greater than X yards, and you can look at all that stuff instantly. And we have more manpower than we've ever had in our buildings in general to be able to input all the data and all that stuff. So I feel like really that stuff goes on all the time. But yeah, what are things we could do better to answer your question besides a million things? We'd like to get a Leaf going a little bit more. I think Coach Campbell said that. And, he's done a great job when he's touched the ball. I think he's averaging over 10 yards a return or something like that. So it's not like he's been poor. A lot of the punt return game, a lot of the numbers inside there get lost. I think we talked about that a year or two ago when we were talking about statistics and Yeah, they get lost in where you're punting on the field, the down and distance of the punt, and some of those things, who the punter is that you're going against. So part of it's like things that we could do better or I could do better. Some of it's things that you can't control, and it's just is what it is. But so that would be one of them. I don't know.
Back to the kicker punter thing for a sec. Is it just the mechanics are that much different? Is that why punters can't?
Yeah, it's just a totally different kick, you know. I know you would think. I thought the same thing. Like, don't these guys grow up? They're kicking, they're punting. You know, didn't they grow up kicking a ball or kicking a soccer ball? Like, you wouldn't think it'd be that hard, but I've seen a number of punters that it looks rough, you know, when they try to kick it. And maybe they're just doing that so they don't have to be the emergency guy, but I don't know.
Foxes are do everything can throw it to, obviously.
Yeah, Fox is valuable. Yeah.
What do you see in the Chargers? I think they have the AFC Player of the Week, had a big return last week. Just what do you see from them?
Yeah, they've done a nice job. You know, the returner's an explosive player. He can run. Obviously, he did that the other night against those guys. You know, the thing that's not difficult, but part of this guy's game is he can run around the edge on the outside. He's got enough speed to run around everybody. But then, like in that Jets game, he put his foot in the ground and took it up the middle of the field also. So he makes you cover the whole field. They do a nice job with that. Their players play hard. I would definitely say that. These guys compete in the return game. They do a good job of that. So it'll be a good matchup.
It's been about 2 months since you guys have run a fake punt. Do you get an itch?
I haven't won the lottery yet, so I got to keep trying. It's down too low. It's like 250 or something. I saw this morning on the way in. I only play when it gets to 500.
How about the fake punts though? I mean, do you know, like I'm sure you've had some up or you still work on them. So is it just a matter of waiting for that?
Yeah, I mean, we always kind of are working on stuff and have stuff in our back pocket or whatever. Some of it's a situation that presents itself. Some of it's the look. You know, we actually have had between now and then we've had one on that didn't go because of a look or whatever. So we'll see.
Do you find opponents are more alert than maybe ever? No?
Oh, yeah, for us. I mean, yeah, we say every week, like, whatever's on film and whatever they've done against these other guys, we're going to get something different. We know that. So it's definitely been different. It's week to week for us. And so we have some things we can put on or take off, and if the look's there, then we can run it. If not, we don't.
Dave, when you're going up against one of these accurate kickers, there's so much you can impact in a game as a coach, but when you're going up against a Dicker, who's missed, I think, 2 so far, or a Tucker, is it just about trying to see something in the rush that might be able to impact them, and really beyond that, just hoping they have a bad day? It's tough to impact those guys.
Yeah, I feel like that's true. It is tough to impact them. I think, you know, you can put pressure on with your rush and put pressure on their protection, and you can force the coach during the week to say, hey man, these guys really play hard. They come after it. They get their hands up. They get penetration. We're going to have to do a good job with our operation time and our lift on the ball. And, you know, and maybe some of that influences the way the guy plays on game day. And then some of it truly is just being at the right time, place, right time. And, you know, it's unlucky for them and good for us. But so there's some of that. Some of it is, you know, certain kickers, different styles. Maybe they would perform better with a right to left wind than a left to right wind. And the ball on that, you know, depending on the wind, which hash the ball's on, that can affect it too. And if a guy hits the ball a certain way, it'd be a harder kick for him. And so there's a lot that goes into it, but.
There's been talk, obviously, about Rodney's leg strength. You've talked about that before. His 52-yarder looked like it got tipped. How unusual is it that you're going to get that much leg on it that somebody's going to get a piece of it and it's still going to get through there?
Yeah, I would say the protection certainly wasn't good enough. I'll start with that. And really my fault on that. I got to do a better job with those guys in there. It's an area that we want to improve at. But I don't know if it got tipped, and I'm not totally sure. The copies that I've seen, I think it may have gone right by the guy's arm. And sometimes when a ball passes by a guy's arm, I know it sounds crazy, but I think it's like the wind blowing back against the arm that it actually moves the ball a little bit as it passes his arm. Anyway, so it looked to me like that's kind of what happened, but I can't guarantee that. And then, but yeah, so he hit a good ball, and it was a good kick, 52 yards. We didn't like the 26-yarders much, but.
You got a couple new pieces during the bye in Nowoski and Peoples-Jones. We saw Nowoski in special teams during the preseason kind of be a Demon down there, and then Peoples-Jones has some return ability. Do you see how quickly can, I guess, you get those guys incorporated into what you do this year?
Yeah, for now, or Nowaski, he's been with us, so it's pretty quick. I mean, if you were up and playing in the game and active on game day, we get him in right away at a bunch of different spots. He practices every week. And a lot of these guys, you know, they're practicing the opponent's look, but a lot of it's similar to our stuff. And if they're doing, you know, they might use our technique, but give us their return or something like that. So they're always working on their skill set as they go. Peoples-Jones, you know, obviously we haven't had him, but he's been playing in the league, and we got film on him and all that. So I think usually with players like that, you can get them in right away.
Is Dicker, has he got a significantly better, stronger leg? I mean, they tried like 150-plus yarder last year, and I think he's 4 or 5 or something already.
Yeah, so he was a guy that when we were in that Senior Bowl and we were part of coaching it, he was with our team on that, and he's got a good leg. He's always had a really strong leg. He obviously very strong on his kickoffs and strong on his field goals. I don't know in terms of, you know, they're an aggressive group, go for it a lot on fourth down, I believe, all that type of stuff, analytics. So maybe in the past a little less of that. I'm not really sure. Obviously this year he's hit more, but he's got a big leg.